cases that this can actually happen. And they're simply both tools. Sure, they're big tools, but they're tools which are just in your toolbox, which you can use to improve your protected area management. So from our standpoint, it's essentially utilizing the strength of both. So the fact that EarthRanger is an incredible tool for real-time situational awareness, while Smart has huge strengths in sort of really delving into your data. So the more analytical side, which can really assist in your medium and long-term decision making. So now I'm just going to hand over to Richana, who's going to talk about how they use Smart and EarthRanger in Cambodia.
Hello, everybody. Cambodia is a biodiversity spot which a geographical feature such as there is a largest lake, freshwater lakes in the Southeast Asia called Tonle Sap Lake, and there's also the largest area of Cambodia is forest covers, and of course there are the endangered biodiversity. And as you can see on the map, the dark green, half of Cambodia is protected areas, and the light green is the where we are supporting. Totally there are 11 protected areas which we providing capacity to the government for protected area management. And talking about Smart and EarthRanger integration today, I would like to take one of the protected area of Cambodia, which is called Northern Plains Landscape, which is one refers to Serengeti in Asia, and there's also, of course, there are also endangered biodiversity such as giant ibis, banteng, and gibbon. And the Northern Plain Protected Landscape cover for 4 provinces, about 100,000 hectares, and it is a home of 100 of people living within the in the protected area, which is create a complex conservation story. Yes, as I mentioned previously, that there is about 100 people live in the protected areas, and in additional dynamic of these challenges, I would like to take 3 main challenges that we are facing in our daily work of the wildlife conservation. First of all is low capacity. Talking about the low capacity, we refer to the low capacity of ranger in terms of technical and lack of organization of the government of the protected area. Example, at the Northern Plain, the government provide only 33 rangers with more than 500,000 hectares. And one more thing, the ranger is with the low education. So you can imagine that provide the simple training, like example using the simple application in a smartphone, it would be extremely challenges for them. And one more thing is about there's many illegal activity. So in addition of number of poaching, nowadays we also facing the land encroachment in the protected area in couple of development. And finally is environmental protection and conservation is still not the higher priority for Cambodia. So to address all these challenges, work closely with the government, we have created a platform which is called Protected Area Monitoring Platform, and you can call it, also can call it PAMP. So as you can see on the screen, PAM is created with the spatial monitoring and also with the field monitoring. And here the Smart and EarthRanger is fully integrated. We can use Smart for data management, data collection, and visualize. And we also can use EarthRanger for monitor, visualize the data and detail of the clarity loss alert. So I'm going to provide more detail about the Smart and EarthRanger integration. So for the field integration, as you can see on the picture, this is what we are doing every day. Our conservation technology starts going to the field with the rangers to conduct the on-the-job training. And this is what we think that we are do, because we found that the 100 or class training is not enough. so that we always go to the field with the rangers. And here I add the screenshot on the slide, which is similar to ROSU. This is the EarthRanger EarthRanger interface, which is integrated the smart patrol data and also the glad alert, which set up in the command center for the government. And for the result of integration, we have provided a patrol plan for a long time in Cambodia, but now what we are doing here is much different. We got the data integrated into EarthRanger and Smart, and we can get the spatial data, which you can see on the map here, showing in Khmer. And there's also the UTM of coordinate, which all data is get from EarthRanger, get from remote sensing alerts, and Smart, which is integrated in EarthRanger. After talking about the patrol plan, let's go back to PAM. PAM is a system where it generates patrol plan, and PAM provides Cambodia government with clear framework or ownership of the patrol data. Conservation partner are no longer responsible for maintaining smart data. All the data of patrol go into the system of the government, which is granted with the login and password protocol. And not only the patrol data of ranger go into the system, there's also the data of community is included. So by having all each data in one command center, government authority are accountable for acting on the information and accountable. I am sure that you all know it's not easy to merge here. So result-based payments such as Redbook projects, finance is measurable, and it is a tool that hold the government accountable. So what we are supporting Cambodia here through the carbon project verification, which is an auditable that is required Smart and EarthRanger integration with effectively, and by ensure the payment, not only the verification take in place, so we can provide greater opportunity for greater accountability and institutional of the import conservation technology tool. So I thank you. That's all for my presentation. I would like to give the floor to Mr. William for provide another case of Smart and EarthRanger integration.
Thank you very much, Rochana. My name is William Jiroge. I work for All Pejeta Conservancy. I lead the technology program. Been around conservation for the last 10 years. I have seen technology, especially conservation technology, evolve quite a bit in that span. I'm going to give you an overview of All Pejeta and then go into the case study, which is quite similar to what Rachana is doing in Cambodia. All Pejeta Conservancy is a 90,000 acre land that is in Laikipia. The Laikipia ecosystem is, the Laikipia and Samburu ecosystem is quite important in the conservation of wildlife in this country, with the largest rhino sanctuary, and I will link the rhino work to what we are doing around Smart and EarthRanger. We have 211 rhino as of the day before yesterday. I don't know if any was born yesterday. I have not checked my mails. But we have 166 black rhino, which is quite a huge number. This is looking at the Kenya's population of black rhino as at end of last year was 938. So that piece of land holding 17% is quite something. We've had 6% year-on-year rhino growth. Started with about just over 20 rhinos in the early 90s. And despite the pressure of poaching and predation, the numbers have grown. And it is as a result of a multi-pronged approach, ensuring that there is proper security, ensuring that proper technology is utilized, and also collaborating with stakeholders, because conservation is one of those areas that you cannot do it alone, and that's why we're here, right? We're also home to the last two northern white rhino. We are witnessing extinction right before our eyes. Hopes of natural breeding for that species are zero, but there's a lot of work that is being done by scientists around IVF, harvesting oocytes from the last two northern white rhinos, creating embryos, which are now at I think 8 in number, and the plan is to implant northern white rhino embryos into southern white rhinos, and hopefully we get a calf from that. But it is still work in progress. It has not been perfected. There has been one test of implanting a southern white rhino embryo into a southern white rhino. It was successful for about 2 weeks, and then the rhino ejected the pregnancy. It's still something that scientists are researching on and working on, and hopefully we get to get this species. But the key message here is there are species we may think they are in abundance and may not need conservation, but at some point northern white rhinos were also in abundance, and here we are with only 2, with a species that is facing extinction. So I applaud all of you for the work you're doing towards conservation, and together we can be better. And it's also linked to SMART and EarthRanger working together to improve conservation outcomes. We also do community engagement work, and our community development work is not CSR, it's core to what we do. At All Pejeta, we believe that conservation has to benefit humans, and that is how you ensure that the wildlife is conserved in the future. So investing about $1 million every year to go into communities, building schools, hospitals, working with farmers to maybe work with drought resistance crops, and going into the health sector. So a whole lot of work working with 34 communities around All Pejeta Conservancy to ensure that these communities reap the benefits of conservation. And to just make sure that this is backed by data, we conduct socio assessment of protected areas every 2 years, and this gives us the results and the benefits that the communities feel that conservation at All Pejeta is bringing. And you'll be surprised that the number one benefit that the communities feel is security. And this is pretty from the perspective that All Pejeta is fenced around 120 kilometers, and the communities around All Pejeta from the north to the southeast and southwest practice different forms of livelihoods. So having All Pejeta there as a buffer has brought in security. It has reduced tensions between communities, and this is really good. We're proud of that. I want to talk about the Conservation Technology Lab, which is a space we established in 2019 together with our partners like Fauna and Flora International, backed by ARM, and local companies like Liquid Telecom. The whole idea behind this was to establish a space where technology scientists could come, develop their technologies, and deploy in the field. And it was very interesting to hear Dr. Omondi here earlier talk about the natural laboratory, which is it's an issue of looking at where can we develop synergies, where can maybe conservation organizations come together with government, come together with the technology organizations, and see how solutions can be developed that ultimately enhance conservation outcomes. So I welcome all of you. Feel free to check out All Pejeta. What we have is a 40-foot container, which is essentially a working space, and we have a team. I have Kennedy, our IT engineer, is in the audience, and we have now the space, the 90,000 acres, and the space is open to all to come and develop the solutions. Changing gears to go into EarthRanger, this is our deployment. We have integrated many things. I know there's a talk later today about EarthRanger for the entire organization by by 51 degrees. So I think that would be interesting to just see how EarthRanger can be implemented in the entire organization. We have rolled out SMART, and this came from a need to digitize data that is being collected directly from the field, because we realized that data coming from the field was typically coming through mobile radios. Someone would call control, and then control would write that on a piece of paper. They would then again put it on a Word document that would go onto an email attachment, and it became really difficult to collate events, to look at trends, and also the time it took for this data to be relayed to the intended recipients was quite long. So we deployed SMART last year, equipped rangers with ruggedized mobile phones, have SMART mobile on there, and then the architecture we took is that the ranger will put in the observation on SMART mobile. That data will go into SMART Connect, and then we have data analysts who look at the data, because majority of the rangers were not very literate at that point. So the approach we took was that first we have an intermediary so that the data comes, it's looked at to ensure that it makes sense, and then based on that, then it can be pushed onto EarthRanger. So the smart desktop, there's a data analyst will use a smart desktop to read the data queue, and then they will analyze and push that data to the conservation data model, and then that will now push data to EarthRanger, where an EarthRanger user will look at the observations. So the approach we've taken is to have data being pushed from SMART to EarthRanger, pretty similar to what Rachana is doing. And as you'll hear as we continue to talk, the key thing here, or the key message, is looking at solutions that work. It's not an issue of picking or choosing. Just look at the problem you have, go out and look at the software solutions, or even, sometimes the solution has nothing to do with technology. It could be a change of process. But the key thing is that the challenge you're facing being resolved. So this is just an illustration of the smart reports on EarthRanger. I will not go deeper into this, but feel free to ask questions after this, or maybe get me or Kennedy while we are on our breakout sessions or lunch breaks and such things, and we're happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Cool. Hi, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Zia Stevens. I'm Panthera's Africa Coordinator for Conservation Technology. Great to have you all here. So we, after talking to lots of people and hearing from these guys about the existing, which I think many of you know about already, the ability to push your smart data into EarthRanger, we've figured out that there's a real need for pushing data from EarthRanger into SMART as well. So getting the connection going both ways. A lot of sites have said that this is quite important to them because they're now using EarthRanger for all of their real-time monitoring and for their data collection, a large majority of their data collection. But lots of sites are still wanting to use SMART for the strong analytics and querying capabilities, et cetera, that SMART can offer. And still wanting to use SMART as their main storage database, their main long-term trend analysis type database. So thankfully, EarthRanger and SMART have been working together very well for the last few years, and more specifically for this integration for the last, I think it's been about a year or just under a year now since the last EarthRanger conference, to get that happening. So basically what this is it's very exciting. We've been working together to find a way to push your data that you're collecting into EarthRanger from your various sources to get it directly into SMART, and in a standardized format and in a format that matches the way that SMART is operating and also obviously matches the way that EarthRanger is operating. So we have a new beta version which enables you to push reports and patrols from EarthRanger directly into SMART via SMART Connect as patrols. And as independent incidences. So anyone that's familiar with both systems will know that In EarthRanger, obviously, a patrol becomes a patrol in Smart, and a report in EarthRanger would become an independent incident in Smart. So at the moment, we're currently testing this integration. We've started off with a basic package for it to get something out to the users who are asking us for this. And so that's being tested at the moment, and we're hoping to release it in the very near future. And what one of the big pushes was getting the data models from EarthRanger and Smart being able to talk to each other. So if you enter a report in EarthRanger and then push it across to Smart, you then don't have to re-enter all of your information in Smart. It will essentially copy it straight across, straight into your existing Smart data model the way that it is set up for you already. Cool, so this is kind of how it looks, just a very brief slide about it. So in your EarthRanger, on the left-hand side, you will see under your reports, there's each of your different Smart CAs or conservation areas. Your data model from Smart will push directly into EarthRanger, and you can use your reports, basically what we have as attributes or categories in Smart, push directly into the EarthRanger reports data model. So that means that it matches one-to-one, essentially, which is really, really useful. The other thing that's really useful for us is that you can have multiple Smart conservation areas in one EarthRanger instance, and then EarthRanger will push your your EarthRanger reports to the correct Smart conservation area that you have in your system. Obviously, lots of people are using EarthRanger for managing quite large protected areas that might have multiple Smart conservation areas, and so the ability to push it from EarthRanger into those different multiple Smart conservation areas is really, really important. So this is one of the big uplifts, because now you can, like I said, choose something exactly in EarthRanger the exact way you want it to look in Smart, and the way you might want to analyze your data later out of Smart. So this is really fantastic. So yeah, just to show you, so on the left-hand side, you obviously have your EarthRanger patrol that you've set up. You may have your inReaches or your digital radios or whatever linking into those patrols that you're creating in EarthRanger. Now with the new integration, all of that data will essentially, if you have it set up, very easily push straight from your EarthRanger patrols directly into your Smart patrols. So on the left-hand side, you can see that there's an EarthRanger patrol, and on the right-hand side, this happens automatically through Smart Connect and through the Gundi platform, which you'll hear more about later today, as a Smart patrol in your Smart database, which we're all familiar with if we're using Smart. So what's very cool is that your tracks from your EarthRanger, potentially real-time monitoring sensors will then send straight across to your Smart database with all of the observations attached to those patrols as well. What is also really important to note is that because EarthRanger currently doesn't have the ability to track employees or track your patrol attributes like your mandates and that type of thing, once your patrol has sent from EarthRanger across to Smart, you can then add all that information in Smart, and then have that data there to analyze later on. And then in a more basic sense as well, just when you create a report in EarthRanger, sorry, so much different jargon, a report in EarthRanger, it will send across as an independent incident in Smart. So it's basically seamless between the two platforms, which is fantastic. So yeah, this is what we've been working on. We're working on it in a very basic sense at the moment, and after Luke has shown some uses of how they are going to use this in North Luangwa, we'll talk about next steps with this. But yeah, we're really hoping that this will help service quite a few sites that are already wanting to keep using Smart as their long-term trend analysis and use the really strong functioning of queries and reports and things in Smart, but are using EarthRanger for their day-to-day analyses, day-to-day visualization. Cool, thank you. I'm going to hand over to Luke.
Sweet. Thank you, Zia, and thank you both. I think conservation is and how you build your data models is very context dependent. So I'm just going to have a quick overview of North Wangwa so you can sort of understand what lens we've come from to design our current data flow, as well as the future data flow changes which we might implement given the new smart EarthRanger integration Zia has just spoken about. So North Wangwa Conservation Program is a partnership between the Frankfurt Zoological Society and the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. And in partnership, we preserve and protect 22,000 square kilometers in northeastern Zambia. Our flagship species is the black rhino, and we're home to the only population of these in Zambia. Currently, we use Smart, EarthRanger, and Tableau concurrently for effective project area management. And I'm going to show you our current data flow process so that we have an idea of how we're using the existing Smart EarthRanger integration and how in the future with this new integration that may change. So important things to note is that Smart is our master database, so no events are inputted into EarthRanger. All our event data is inputted directly into Smart, and Smart then pushes this data into EarthRanger so that we can view this alongside our trackers and other information in EarthRanger. So how does this work in practice? So I'm just going to run through a quick data flow for one of our conservation areas. So basically, you're going to have a patrol is going to start on the ground, and these rangers are going to feed the information to the control room, and the control room is going to input all this information into Smart. So who's in the patrol, who's the patrol leader, what sector they come from, mandate, so on and so forth. Now, on the patrol, if there's an incident to be reported, they're going to call the ops room, or they're going to send them an in-reach message, and then the control room is going to input this directly into Smart Desktop. Here we now have two situations. If it's a non-urgent situation, such as a natural elephant carcass, which doesn't require immediate follow-up, we're going to sync with Smart Connect at our usual time. So that's typically 3 times a day, so that EarthRanger now has access to this smart data. However, if it is an urgent situation, which requires immediate follow-up, for example, fresh footprints or poached elephant, we're going to sync with Smart straight away. This means that this smart data is viewable on EarthRanger, and we can use EarthRanger's really incredible real-time abilities to assist with those management decisions. So we can view our in-reaches alongside this smart report, as well as alongside spider tracks, our planes in the air, and then our ops room, as well as our managers, can use both of these tools effectively to guide those real-time decisions. The other thing we do is we get the teams to give us daily location updates, and the control room then have to manually input this into Smart. This process is a bit convoluted because we've got in-reaches which give us real-time tracking. However, we have to download this data and then upload it to Smart, even though we can already view it on EarthRanger. So it adds a step which we really don't need. And the new EarthRanger Smart integration addresses this, which is brilliant. Then, as Zia mentioned, for more of the long-term or medium-term analytics, in North Wangwa we use Tableau for that. However, you can use Smart. Smart's got brilliant reporting capabilities as well as querying abilities. But we then push this data from Smart Desktop into Tableau and then generate reports and analysis to drive our more long-term, medium-term decision-making. So that's sort of using EarthRanger for real-time and then Smart for the long-term analytics. So now with this new EarthRanger, it's going to work. I just jumped across. So with this new EarthRanger smart integration, we're going to have a change in the data flow. So it's really important for us to emphasize that we still want Smart to be our central database, and there's a couple of reasons for this. We love how Smart stores data. We've got data from there from 2015, so and we like how it's stored. So we still want that to be the central database. However, instead of that information being inputted into EarthRanger, into Smart, we're now going to input this into EarthRanger. Then EarthRanger is going to push it into Smart. So that works in the field in the same scenario, in the same teams. A patrol is going to be started. However, instead of that information being inputted into Smart, it's going to be inputted into EarthRanger. And then if there is an incident to report, control room will input that straight into EarthRanger, which means we don't have to go through the process of syncing before our managers and our ops rooms can view that data alongside our real-time assets. So that's a huge advantage to us. I mean, the syncing process isn't long, but it is a step we have to go through. And the thing which I am really excited about is the fact that the teams which do have trackable assets, such as InReachers, we no longer have to do this thing of downloading, uploading. This data will flow into EarthRanger through the existing Garmin integration, and then into Smart Connect, and then into Smart, so that we have that track data available in Smart for medium and long-term analytics. So I'm sure like some of you thinking, okay, well, what's the point of the Smart then? Because you've got all of this data, you've got all of this track. So for us, it's really important that Smart adds this other level of adding this additional information. So Zia mentioned, for example, the fact that we can add the patrol members, who's a patrol leader, all this other things which you don't need for real-time decision making. However, when it comes to medium long-term analytics, you do. So it means from a performance management basis on a one-to-one level, we can really get into that with our teams on the ground and our personnel on the ground, and really help in that more long-term, medium-term decision making. And once again, we pass the information into Tableau and then generate reports and analysis using that more in-depth Smart data. So that's how we use it in North Mwangwa, and if you want any questions, happy to chat afterwards, or just now right after Zia tells us what's going to happen in the upcoming steps.
Cool, thanks for that, Luke. Cool, so just to quickly touch on future steps before we take any questions and any suggestions from the crowd. So we are hoping to continue this collaboration and build both integrations flowing both ways to be much stronger and to be much more user-driven. I'm sure by many of you in this room, hopefully. So the first thing we're going to try and work on is the Smart to ER integration. At the moment, there have been a few issues with server complications, so we're currently working on that. And when I say we, I mean the EarthRanger guys and the Smart guys. We're hoping to get Smart track data to push into EarthRanger as well. And then for the ER and to Smart integration, we are hoping to continue to test the functionality of the stuff that I've just shown you and that Luke has explained that he would like to start using. So there are currently just a few of us testing it, and obviously I think, as we all know, when you release something new, there's lots of bugs and things to work through. So we're trying to get that to a point where we can release it to you all as soon as possible. Hopefully early 2023, I think. But the EarthRanger guys and Smart people can probably shed more light on that one. And then once something is released, so we're just releasing, I think, a very basic model of it to start with to get people going. And then from there, we're going to build on it and work on it and make it stronger and make it better for everyone based on not everyone's different use case, but to try and get that broader community that are using both systems and want to use it in specific ways. So we're really hoping that after this, we can have some really open and in-depth conversations with people that are interested to hear how you might like to use it or how it would help your organization, your conservation success stories, so that we can work together to hopefully build that system for you, how it might work for you. So yeah, it's been a really great collaboration between EarthRanger and the Smart Partnership. We've all been working together really nicely, and it's just again goes to show that you've got these two fantastic tools that, when used together, can really, really help your conservation management at a site. So we're really excited about it, and we really hope that it will help other people in the same space, or other people who might be a little bit confused about how they use the two tools together to get their best conservation success stories. Cool. So again, we're really, really interested to hear from everyone here how this might help them, or how they might see this being tweaked a little bit to help them, whether it's now or whether it's after this. Please do come and reach out to any of us. We're more than happy to share our experience with it, and really, really happy to hear your ideas about how it might work better for you. Cool, so thank you. Cool, yeah, so we'll take a few questions. I don't know. Pass the mic around. Yeah, no, I'm not answering all of them. We'll do it between us.
Thanks very much. I can't see you, but it's for the speaker from Cambodia. You mentioned that using your smart, you're integrating it into the monitoring for your RED Plus project. Is that something that you've gone through the verification and they're accepting the data as it is in smart, or is it something that you're just using and then passing on to the verification people?
Yeah, thank you for the question. As I mentioned previously, that we use smart and EarthRanger integration in the PAM Command Center, so that through the PAM Command Center, it is promote the accountability of the government for ownership of their data, and that is can be such as the verification tool for the RED Plus, which it means that it is the in collaboration have with the communities and also with the government.
So the verification authority, is it Vera or Gold Standard? Who does the RED Plus? Do you know?
That is just promote the accountability of.
Just the accountability. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Burnsick from Zambian Carnivore Program. Zia, when you were talking about pushing the data from EarthRanger into the patrols in SMART, does that also work for surveys in the different conservation areas, or is it right now one-to-one with patrol data models, or can you also use it for surveys?
Cool. Thanks, Terry, for your question. By surveys, you mean like the survey section in SMART, right? Cool. So at the moment, it's just from 2 patrols and 2 independent incidences to start with, but definitely keen on hearing that use case, because I think quite a few people will be very keen on that, especially for surveys with your animal collars and that type of thing too. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Gareth from Conservation South Luangwa and the Zambian Carnivore Program. To Luke, possibly, you probably know our case fairly well. So we've got digital radios in reaches that are feeding live into EarthRanger, but at the same time using Smart Mobile for secondary data collection. What happens when you end up with 2 tracks possibly conflicting?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's something we've thought about because we also use Smart Mobile, and that was sort of our initial use case was, and when Zia and I spoke about this a year ago, we thought you could have your really important data coming to EarthRanger, and then on Smart Mobile, you would have additional levels to it. So as you said, like those secondary things which aren't crucial real time, but you want them for the long-term analysis. So this is something which we're keen to do, but it's when we spoke to EarthRanger about it and Smart about it, to get those to combine and link to each other would need some unique ID. I don't really understand the coding behind it, but I think it's something which we're certainly keen to work towards and something potentially in the roadmap in the future, but I don't think it'll be anytime soon. Yeah.
Hi, just a general question for everybody. Now with the ability to sort of have 2-way data pushes between Smart and EarthRanger, do you all feel that you have a relatively complete view of the way that you can view and analyze your data now, or are there still gaps that you think need to be filled, you know, sort of with the sort of life cycle of the data?
Yeah, thank you for that. The interesting thing about data is that as needs evolve, then you get very different needs or how to analyze data. So the whole thing or the approach here is to be very open-minded. At the moment, we're using Smart, for example, for patrol effort. We're using EarthRanger and Tableau. So in case there's a unique use case, then we would be pretty much open to exploring. At the end of the day, it remains, the focus remains on solving the problem at hand. I don't know if that is a political way of going around the question, or I haven't seen your question.
So just from like our context in North Luangwa, in the sense that we saw gaps within our data package. So for example, we saw a gap in our reporting and our sort of dashboarding, so we brought on Tableau. And then Smart also fills in with the Smart Mobile, filling in that data collection gap for Smart, for getting that more patrol effort, as William mentioned. So these different tools, as you said, fill in different gaps. And for us, I think it's given us a more complete data package. So we're able to have a long-term, real-time, as well as medium-term to sort of assist us in better protected area management.
Hello, Jess from EarthRanger. I have a follow-up question about the duplication of track between Smart Mobile and InReach, which is, what would you want to have happen?
Sorry. So I've got two opinions on this, because we have, and this is because we've got different units within ourselves. So, for example, with our InReach teams, we get 10-minute tracking intervals, and those tracks are very accurate. So we would want the InReach tracks to overwrite the smart tracks, even if we don't input them in. However, with Smart Mobile, where we can get a 30-second or 1-minute tracking interval, in that essence, we'd want the Smart Mobile tracks to overwrite the InReach tracks, if that makes sense. So it depends on the use case. And I know from a developer standpoint that makes it really complicated, but that's my ideal ideal scenario, right? Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is David Msugu from Kenya Wildlife Service. I hail from the lake basin that is in Kisumu, and in the integration process, Smart and the EarthRanger, I was wondering what's the scope going forward, because it is easy to track the land mammals. And in a place I work currently, I face challenges of human-wildlife conflict with aquatic life, the hippos and the crocodiles. So going forward, how will you be able to track these animals so that they give us alert early, we avert threat to the community? Thank you.
Yep. Let me take an attempt at that, and maybe someone else can fill in. I see your use case. For example, if you were to use a Smart or EarthRanger mobile, we've not seen the mobile yet. If you would have the Smart mobile, you have your data model configured, and when the cases of human-wildlife conflict occur, then you have that logged in, that data goes into EarthRanger, it's visualized. What's important about that is that you have the geospatial aspect of the data, and as you build on this data over time, then you can start analyzing the data and start looking at trends. Also look at what are other data sources that can be interlinked with that. Does this happen on a particular season? Is there anything that you can correlate, so that you have a couple of different data points or coming from different areas, and you overlay that and start seeing patterns. And then based on that, then you can start to preempt. I'm not a marine specialist. I'm not sure how you track that to prevent. But what you can do, instead of tracking the marine, assume, this is just me thinking out loud, you have areas of prevalence or where these things happen. What can you put in place to detect these things? Is it a sensor? Is it a camera? Is it, it remains to be a combination of different things so that you get your end result.
I'm coming.
Hi, I'm JC from Philippines. Thank you for sharing your best practices in these both tools. Those are fantastic tools in conservation and management. But my question is for Luke. You presented two workflows, right? The current and the potential. On those workflows, have you identified erroneous data or inaccurate data, such as patrol data? And follow up to that question is how you're going to validate and reduce those duplicated data. As you all know, for my past 8 years on using Smart, I've encountered erroneous and voluminous data or duplicated data, but now we have this future feature of EarthRanger and Smart. So I'm so interested on maybe I can replicate your workload in the future, but those are my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. And I think William touched on it a bit, and was also part of the reason I think they decided to use Smart Mobile, was because in Smart, when you process that mobile data, someone has to manually process it. Whereas by my understanding of EarthRanger Mobile, obviously the upstream can then do it, but as soon as you upload that data, it pops up on EarthRanger. Whereas in Smart, there's this go-between. You have the data collected in the field, and then someone has to process it. So in our SOIs, we have a team which processes it, as does William's teams, and ensures that the data from the field being collected is accurate before we create reports. This means we're using good data to make good decisions. So that's one way. Another way, for example, with the new data flow, with the data being put straight into EarthRanger, when it comes into Smart, Smart's got some brilliant Q&A, so quality assurance things which are built in, and you can run those to make sure, and I think there's quite a lot you can do with that. For example, has a team walked further than it is possible to walk? Like, there's no way they could walk 20 kilometers in 1 minute, so you know that that's an error. So you can run these automatic Q&As to ensure that happens. So that's one way which you could do it. And what was the second part of the question? That was it? No, sorry, I forgot the second part.
I think you answered it.
Both
how you're
parts.
going to validate those incomplete or inaccurate data?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and how are you going to reduce those erroneous or duplicated data?
Yeah, and then just one more point to add there, and I think it's something which we found recently, because in North Wang we're looking at our data very often. So we're looking at it on EarthRanger, whereas previously we wouldn't be looking at it on Smart Desktop, particularly from our Protected Area Manager, Ed. He will see something and he will know that's in the wrong area. And he will then, by looking at the EarthRanger data, he'll message our control room and say, are you sure that's right? So basically you've got these different scales. You've got it on EarthRanger, you've got it on Smart, and then you can use both of those tools to then make sure that the data which you are collecting is in fact correct.
Okay, thank you. So maybe you can share future guide manual for us?
Sure, we'll chat about it later.
Okay,
yeah,
thank
sure,
you.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry. I might have more than one conservation area in Smart. For me, maybe I have 5. I don't know how can I need to clarify a little bit how can I push those 5 conservation areas into EarthRanger.
Cool. Thanks for your question. I'm going to take this one because I operate in a national park where we actually have 14 conservation areas in the one area. And so that's why, let me just go back to the slide. So in this one, you'll see we've set it up specifically so that if you do have more than one conservation area coming into your EarthRanger, you basically just choose from the report section in EarthRanger where you want that data to push to. So there'll be an area for each of your different conservation areas in your reports for EarthRanger, and you choose which section you want those reports to come from, if that makes sense. And then EarthRanger will automatically, through Smart Connect, as long as those conservation areas are on the same Smart server, it will then push it to that correct conservation area, if that makes sense. So if you enter it in the right place, it'll end up in the right place. I hope that answers it.
All right, I just wanted to thank the 4 of our speakers very, very much for both their presentation as well as really pioneering the use of these 2 tools. We've learned a lot from their experiences, and we're incorporating into future versions like Zia showed. So thank you very much.